She's the brains. I'm just the guy who hits the buttons. So everybody's in here. Everybody's in the house. We're going to get going. How's the audio? You guys can hear me okay, right? Secrets to getting the film look, guys. And the way we're going to do this, it's going to blow your mind. I'm going to share my screen now. There you go. All right. So let's just jump right in. And let's go through an agenda really quick, like what we're going to be covering in this live webinar, okay? So first, I'm going to take you through what to expect, a couple of things that, we're going to be handling here. And then we're going to jump into the meat and the potatoes, which is the actual training, right? And then I'm going to talk about my masterclass. And then we're going to end this webinar with the Q&A section, which is literally my favorite part. It's just so much value just loaded in that last section here, okay? So first of all, what's in it for you? Let's look at that, okay? This will help you jumpstart your career by learning the industry workflow. The stuff that I'm going to be sharing here, I promise you, you have not seen it even on my YouTube or Instagram, which will in turn help you exceed client expectations by delivering high quality work. These secrets will increase your efficiency by 50%. There's a couple of things in there that I'm going to show you. It's going to be the craziest light bulb moment, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I've been doing it the wrong way all along. It's going to blow your mind. And then what happens when you're faster? Double the speed, double the work, right? So usually I am double booked and triple booked all the time, and I can handle it because I'm efficient. It's not like I'm cutting corners. It's just that I can get 2-3 projects done in the same amount of done that, and in the same amount of time that, a normal person would. So no, that will make you irreplaceable, right? So no more losing jobs to competition. Now, who is it for? Let's talk about that. If you're a modern day filmmaker or a content creator, such as myself or many others that are watching, where you're just jack of all trades and you really want to take your game to the next level, this will help you do that. If you are somebody that wants to charge more for their work, it will help you do that. Make your work stand out. I mean, this is the fastest way to do that. Okay, you can take your small budget project, look or feel big budget. And when that happens, you attract a lot of big clients and big brands that would want to work with you. And then it's the fastest way to adding an additional source of income. You guys have heard my story. I was an editor first. So it was really easy. I already had access to the footage. I would usually just do a little bit of color and then send out a rough. And then they would look at it and they'd be like, hey, what did you do here? Like, this looks really cool. And what is that? And I'm like, it's color grading. I can, charge you X amount if you want me to take a stab at it. And then boom. Next thing you know, here I am, like talking about color only. Now I barely edit. I edit my own projects, but majority of my clients are just like all color grading work related. So a little bit about me. I'm a colorist in LA. I run a virtual studio called the Post Village. You can look it up on Google. And mostly I do branded content, commercials, and music videos. Clients that I was lucky enough to work with are Toyota, Vizio, Honda, Chevrolet, P&G, Similac, some of the triple A-list brands out there. And I should update this because now there are so many more brands that I should add to this list. So a quick backstory about me, right? Like before we jump in, and that's going to be, I promise you, it's going to come back together and it's going to make sense and it's going to be helpful for you guys as well. So I went to school for digital film. It was like a general program, but then I started, paying a lot of attention to cinematography. Like that was just sort of like my own niche. That's what I wanted to do. But I quickly realized that there's a missing piece. There's something that's not happening right. When I watch Hollywood movies and when I watch primetime TV, I can't get that look. Like, yeah, I'm really good at cinematography and I was lighting stuff properly, blah, blah, blah. What is that missing piece? And then that discovery led me to Apple Color. Those of you that have used Apple Color back in 2007 or 2008, I got my hands on it. And then I started using Apple Color and it was like the biggest light bulb, right? I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And I started had so much more freedom and started having so much fun. You take cinematography and you bring in color grading and it's just such a beautiful combination. And then it will take me years to stumble upon this crazy eureka moment, which was the higher pay discovery. Like as an editor and cinematographer, I wasn't making nearly anything compared to what I was making as a colorist, as a beginner colorist. I wasn't even like a pro. I had put in so much time and learned, by going to school how to be a cinematographer and editor. But color grading was like a self-taught thing, and I was getting paid more. And the reason is simple. Color grading is still fairly new to the film industry, okay? And it's like the blue ocean. It's like, it's not saturated like editing or cinematography. So a couple of years ago, that's my QuickBooks, $34,000 made in a year. And literally by working maybe 100 to 110 days, I was about to pull that number, okay? That is massive. I mean, it takes crazy hard work as well. Like, I mean, it says right there that, that puts me in the top 1%. Anybody in the film field, you guys know that we don't get paid that much. So to be able to pull that number as a freelance colorist who doesn't have a big big label under my belt, meaning I'm not working for Company 3 or eFilm or anything like that, this is freaking massive. So this is what's at stake here, right? Like, I mean, if you're really going hardcore for this, like right now, the market is hot for colorists, so you can make some serious bank. So guys, are you pumped? Are you ready for the training? Because we're going to just jump right in after that point, okay? So training is going to start with this. First, I want to talk about films that used Kodak 2383. What is Kodak 2383, and what are some of the movies that are using that? So let's check it out, right? It's a film print, 2383. So back in the day when your movies were played in a theater, they were printed on Kodak 2383, and it has that specific look that we're familiar with that we call a film look. And then later down the road, when everything went to digital, DI, digital color grading, like then what started happening is that they're like, we like this 2383 so much that even now the projectors are all digital. We want to get that look DNA, that show LUT. So a lot of films started using a film print emulation, which is the Kodak 2383. And this website is a pretty good resource if you guys want to check it out on your own. Is shotonwhat.com, and it gives you a lot of like technical data that's really hard to find anywhere else. So if we look at the movies that use Kodak 2383, here's a list. Joker used 2383, okay? Pirates of the Caribbean, Live Free or Die Hard, Munich, The Dark Knight. Some of the most beautiful looking movies that you can think of are using a 2383, either film print or a film print emulation. The Thin Red Line used Kodak 2383. A Beautiful Mind. I mean, Body of Lies, Shutter Island, one of the most beautiful looking films to me, and especially from Scorsese, used 2383. Thor, Spider-Man 3, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Superman Returns, and then look at the pages. They just keep going, and probably this website doesn't have all the movies registered here, but still it has 28 pages of like movies that use Kodak 2383. And I'm only going to show you a few more examples, and then we're going to move on. Come on. Transformers used the Kodak 2383, Dunkirk, and guys, I'm telling you, Star Trek, Suicide Squad, like the list goes on, right? So that's what I'm going to be showing you here. We're going to learn how to use Kodak 2383 the right way, all right? And everything that goes with it. Now, let's just jump straight into our DaVinci Resolve and how to set up a project properly. So I'm going to go in here. Let's say that we brought in everything, right? So like I'm going to move this over here. So let's say in edit, these are your shots. That's what you're grading. So you brought in your shots in DaVinci Resolve. What I need you to do is click on this project settings, and it's going to pop open this page right here. Okay. I'm not going to get into all the details. We're just going to look at the color management here. And all I want to do in the color management is that leave it to default DaVinci YRGB. Basically, this means that, hey, don't color manage my timeline. Leave it to me. I'm going to do it on a node level. Now, some people are just like, yeah, but, Qazi, you said use the color managed, DaVinci Wide Gamut. It's so much better, blah, blah, blah. That is true. That is true. But I'm going to show you a few caveats with that, which just makes me now go back to using DaVinci YRGB. And one more thing that we want to do, let's set it to DaVinci YRGB, Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. And while we're at it, let's go down and turn on Make Broadcast Safe. So then that way, we're not going to get flagged when we you send our files in. First of all, we're going to make sure that our clips look proper, but then this just gives you an additional safety net. And then 3D lookup label interpolation, we want to change that from trilinear to tetrahedral, okay? This is a much higher quality of rendering for your lookup tables. So you want to set that to this. Okay, so that's the sauce. We want to set these things up. We want to hit save, and nothing changes, right? Everything looks the same at this point. So I want to show you why I don't think the color managed route is the right way to go. Okay, I'm going to go to this. I'm going to jump over to this project. Okay, I'm going to open up this project that I worked on, stuff that I did for P&G for their Olympics campaign a while back. So this is the problem that we're dealing with. Okay, so I had my VFX artist do some sky replacement, so everything latches on, looks great, right? So like I had her put in a sky. I mean, the shot looks fine as is, but with the sky, it just adds a little bit more love, right? It just looks so much better. So I did that. Now, this does not match my reference or her reference. When she sent me the reference to like what it should look like, I'm like, whoa, that looks really off. Like, what is really going on? And then I started trying to figure out like what was actually going on. And then I'm like, let me just check this. I went back into my project settings and I went to color management and I went back to unmanaged timeline, right? So I just went to DaVinci YRGB and Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. I want you to keep your eyes right here. Okay, focus on this. I'm going to hit save and look what happens here. Boom. That's exactly what it's supposed to look like. And this is exactly what it looked like when my artist turned in the project and sent me the references. Okay. So this is just one example of like the kind of roadblocks that you might face if you go with color managed. And that's why I just wanted to bring that up to your attention, that try to avoid it if you don't have to do it. There's definitely the ways that I'm going to be showing you here are still going to streamline your workflow. But unless your project is shot with just a couple of cameras that you know can easily be color managed and there's no graphics, then go for color managed. It's going to save you time. But if there's going to be tons of VFX and graphics, then just you've been warned. Okay. Now, let's go back here and let's go ahead and set up our scopes. I want to show you how I set up my scopes, and then obviously you can make some modifications based on that. So I'm going to go here, click on this guy. When you click on the expand button, it's going to pop this open. Now there's a bunch of different options, right? Like there's going to be one scope here, 2 up or 4 up. So I'm going to check out 4 up and show you how I have everything set up. First thing that I want you to do is click on these 3 little dots right here and turn on low pass filter, and look at what happens here. It thins out. It makes it a lot easier for me to see, you know, white balance issues or anything like that. So I like leaving the low pass filter on. The next very useful function is display qualifier focus. Okay, turn that on. That's amazing. And look what happens when I select qualifier here. When I hover over, look what's happening on the scopes. I can see exactly where my skin is. Okay. I'm going to go under vector scope and I'm going to turn on skin indicator. So now we know our skin is supposed to be on that line. And if I hover over, I can see that my skin is way off. There's way too much yellow in this shot compared to where it needs to be. So this is a great tool. You can also see your highlights, where your highlights are sitting and what you need to do. Excellent, excellent tool for those things. Okay. So now what I'm going to do after that, it's going to get a tiny bit confusing. So you're just going to, I'm giving you a heads up. Stick with me here. Okay. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to click right here. I'm going to set that to HDR instead of like regular 10-bit, which is, this is what the Rec 709 scopes should look like. We're going to go here. We're going to set these to HDR. And I'm going to show you why I'm doing this. I'm going to click on this guy right here on my parades. And I'm going to go under here, and under my show reference levels, I'm going to set this to 200 for my low, 200 nits, because when you're working in HDR, everything is in nits. And then for my high, instead of 10,000 nits, I'm going to say set it to 600 nits. Why 600 nits? Because majority of your television sets out there right now, consumer TVs, can only give you a sustained 600 nits, okay? Consistent 600 nits. They might claim that they can go up to 1,000 or 1,200 nits, but it's a peak brightness compared to a consistent or sustained brightness. So 600 is the number that you got to keep in mind. Then look at what happens here in this area right here. As soon as I hit show reference levels, boom, I got these 2 lines, one at a 200 nit mark and the other one at a 600 nit mark. Okay, so I told you, I gave you a warning, it's going to be a little confusing. Why are we setting these up? If tomorrow Netflix comes to us and says, hey, give me, you know, our director goes, now we're submitting this movie to a Netflix, we want to do a HDR pass. you're going to need these parameters to kind of know that you want to keep your skin under the 200 mark. You want to keep your highlights right around 600 mark, because that's where it's going to be optimized for majority of the TVs out there right now. Okay. But the beautiful thing with these lines is that once I create that, even if I go back to SDR, these lines are there. So the way I'm going to set up this node tree, it's going to help us, you know, kill two birds with one stone. So we're going to grade in SDR, but we're going to be basically HDR ready. Okay. So that's where these lines are very important. So like I told you, it's going to be a little bit of a, like a twisty thing, but now that we got that out of the way, we're ready to go with scopes. Okay. So our scopes, we're good to go. What's the next step? Next step is something called the LUT checker. And that is something that I've learned from Dado, who's one of my mentors. And it's unbelievable, man, what that thing does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, delete these, and build them from ground up so you guys can see how they work. So let's click on that, delete this. This is what you need to do. LUT checker is all about how it sounds. LUT checker, like we need to make sure how good this LUT is. And this is extremely important for people that just are, you know, crazy LUT buyers. They're buying LUTs from anybody and everybody. Like, you know, they just go on Instagram and every influencer is selling LUTs and they're like, I want to buy that. This is gonna show you if that LUT got the juice, if you should be using it or if it's gonna ruin your image. So check this out. We're gonna go under generators, take the grayscale, drop it in here, okay? Take the 4 color gradient, drop that in here. So as of now, they're just generators. We have to take these and turn them into clips, which you do that by creating a compound clip. So I'm going to create a compound clip there. I'm going to create a compound clip for my 4 color gradient. Now we got these, right? Now let's go to the color page. Nothing is happening. Everything is the same. Let's pop our scopes open again. So now we're looking at our scopes, and this is what everything looks like, right? What I'm going to do is go under my LUT, and LUTs, and I'm going to go under film looks, and I'm going to come down to the 2383, the D60 flavor that we're going to be using. And I'm going to take that, double click on it, and now I applied that LUT. So as soon as I apply that LUT, look at what happens to my scope. Look at that S curve. You see that gentle, such a nice, beautiful, like soft film-like S curve. That's the beauty of the 2383. And look how good this LUT is. Like just by looking at that, you can tell that there's no weird things going on. It's super clean. We can also see that it has some warm tones in the highlights, which people love. And we can attest to that by looking at our histogram. Like, see, there's red, and then the subtraction of like blue right here, and then the green in the middle. That's what's creating that yellow, that warm highlights. Okay, so we can attest to that here. Now, we can click right here and middle click to copy over the LUT, and you can see what's going on over here. So as soon as I apply the LUT to this image, all you need to focus on is your vector scope. So let's make it really simple, right? Let's just go to vector scope here. So all we need to focus on is that how are our colors looking? So this LUT is a Rec 709 LUT, Rec 709, right? 2383. So this is meant for Rec 709. And look how nicely it wraps around a log image, if you will, to like this, the bounds of like Rec 709 space. So like we are within the red channel. We're a little over the yellow channel, but we can bring it in, but we are way under the blue channels. Cyan is touching the wall right there, but it's really good. This LUT is clean. Okay, this is a really good LUT. Now, how would you know if there is a bad LUT? So I'm going to go back to my, let's do a waveform. I'm going to go back to that. And now let's try a different LUT. The one that I never used because I never liked it is the Fujifilm 3513. And look at what happens. As soon as I drop it off, now I swapped it with the Kodak 2383. Just look at what's happening. Look at these jagged edges that we got. And what is this? This is how you know that this LUT is gonna break your image. Okay, this is gonna ruin your image, absolutely. Now let's try that LUT here, and I'm gonna go back into my vector scope. So in terms of the color space that it's covering, not bad. So that's good. So now I'm just gonna go back and apply the 2383, and I'm gonna apply 2383 here, and let's just do a 4 up again, and that's what we're looking at. Let's change that to parade. Okay, now the problem that we have here, because it is a Rec 709 LUT, is that tomorrow, if you're switching your project to HDR, this is not really going to cut it, because it's not really taking advantage of like all the information that you need. Okay. And then that's where, so limitations, we talked about the limitations with the Rec 709 LUT. Now some alternative options is going to be this. So keep your eyes right here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to create a new node. And in here, I'm going to go and use Dado's Look Designer, which is a plugin for Color Lab. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to scroll all the way down. I'm going to go under Film Stock, and I'm going to choose 2383. So now I'm using the same LUT, but through his plugin compared to a Rec 709 version. And look at how wide this is. Look at this. It is expanding that entire image for basically ready to go for ACES, for RE Wide Gamut, for Rec 2020, for Netflix P3, D65, SD 2084. It is ready to go compared to, once again, keep your eyes right here. If I go back to the Rec 709 version of that LUT, look how constrained this is, right? Like, this is all we're getting. So that's something that I wanted to bring up to you guys to just be aware. But if we didn't have a LUT checker, we wouldn't be able to tell these things apart, right? And this, it all starts right here, guys. Like, you have to have a pretty strong foundation to grade like a pro, okay? So now that this section is out of the way, so one more thing, we're going to be using printer lights for doing our primaries. And why are we using printer lights? And I want to tell you why that's important. So let's go back and pop this open, right? So one of the biggest mistakes rookies make, or beginner colorists make, is that they will apply a LUT, and then they, on top of it, they would treat that LUT as just a regular preset, and then they'll do qualifier, push and pull, and all the things. You can't do that. If you're going to go the LUT route, you have to be very respectful of like what the LUT is doing, because the LUT is not doing just one thing. It's manipulating your image on many levels. Like, look at all the push and pull that's happening here. So now it's not as easy as like, oh, I'm going to drop on the LUT and then I'm going to, do all the push and pull of my image. So instead, I recommend using printer lights. Okay. So if we go back to our footage right here, and I'm going to do, let's do a 2-up, and let's keep that down here. So this is what's going to happen. Go under color and click on printer light hotkeys. You have to turn it on. It's by default turned off. So you got to turn it on. As soon as you turn it on, nothing happens. But if you hover over down here under full printer light, you will see that your numeric keypad is equipped with using printer lights. Okay, so if you hit 7, you're adding red. If you hit 4, you're subtracting red. If you're hitting 8, you're adding green. 5 minus green. Okay, that kind of thing. So why are we using printer lights? For our primaries with our LUT? Because look at what happens. I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna go under my parade. So this is where our image is sitting right now. Okay, these are my printer lights. The offsets are my printer lights. So here, when I say subtract red, look at what's happening to my red channel. Okay, subtract red, and look at what's happening to my red channel. The whole channel is moving up and down, right? So I go in here now. I'm going to use my numeric keys on my keypad, but I'm going to spell them out so you guys know what I'm doing. I go take my red, I pull it down, the whole red channel comes down. Okay, and now if I go, all right, raise my green, I'm raising my entire green channel up instead of like twisting and turning my parameters by using lift gamma gain. And that's, like I said, it's very good. Not to mention that it's great because it turns into like this mathematical equation where you're just like, okay, now when I'm doing shot matching, I'm going, I added 2 red and subtract 1 yellow. I can do the same to my next shot and then see if it needs anything else. So it's very like linear instead of like, okay, my lift is going here and my gamma is going here, and now next shot is going to need something completely different. Okay, so this can shave off some major time when you're especially doing balancing your images, which is the first pass, which is like the base grade when you work on a project. So now let's jump in and create a non-destructive, or what I call a future-proof node tree. Once again, this is something that you have not seen before, I promise you. And the reason why we're going to set it up this way is because we're future-proofing ourselves. So 3 years down the road, when somebody comes to us and they want a different version, an HDR pass of that grade or something like that, we don't have to regrade the entire thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and build out our node tree. So I'm going to buy ourselves some real estate. I'm going to do this. I'm going to hide that. And this node tree, I believe, is going to be, we're only going to have, I want to say 6 or 7 nodes. So let's see. I'm going to bring this down. And the first node is going to be my CST, color space transform. Okay. My second node is going to be my primary A. And then the third node is going to be primary B. And don't get confused. I'm going to explain everything. And then this is going to be CST again. This right here is going to be my show LUT. That right here is going to be my HSL curves. And then this is going to be my Netflix. Okay. So this could be Netflix or HDR trim, right? So I'm going to put that down here. I'm going to take these two. I'm going to move them down here. I'm going to take my CST. I'm going to put it down here. Like, you guys know how I organize my node trees. Like, this way is like, just visually, it makes a lot more sense. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go in my color space transform. This is, you guys have seen, usually people do this, right? So they're like, all right, this footage is from RE Alexa, so we want to convert it to Rec 709. So they go here, they drop on color space transform. They say, hey, input color space was Alexa, gamma was Alexa, log C. Boom, you got your Rec 709. Look at the scopes. It looks great. Let's move on. It's perfect. It's not perfect. It's actually quite detrimental, because once you convert it on your upstream to Rec 709, every single change that you make afterwards is all done in Rec 709. You never want to do that, because you just took a 15 stops of dynamic range image, which is Alexa, and reduced it to 6 stops. Now you are constrained to that 6 stop. Even with a 32-bit float, which is resolved, meaning you can do something here and you can make up for it later down the road, you just threw off the entire color grading process by restricting yourself to 6 stops. That's what SDR is compared to RE wide gamut, which is 15 stops of dynamic range. And we can attest to that by going here and looking at this chart from RE's website. This is from their website, right? So the blue thing that you see here is Rec 709, that triangle, super, super small color space, right? Look at RE wide gamut, how expansive that is compared to Rec 709. Almost more than double the size of Rec 709. And then it's almost as big as AP1, which is ASUS, right? So here's your green line, which is ASUS. And then here's RE, which is going way beyond ASUS and the shadow areas and like how much it's covering. And then you got ASUS AP0, which is used for archival purposes. AP0 is the granddaddy of all color spaces because it has 30 plus stops of dynamic range. Now, let me just say this, fun fact, HDR with 1000 nits is only 10 stops of dynamic range. So technically your Panasonic GH5 that shoots in 10-bit and shoots in 11 stops of dynamic range is more than plenty for you to make beautiful HDR images, okay? HDR is still, like I said, limited to 10 stops. RE is giving us 15 stops. AP0 ASUS color space is 30 stops, and that's why it's the golden standard for archiving your footage, because you want to just wrap it under an AP0 master. So then 5-10 years down the road, I'm having trouble hearing you. So 5-10 years down the road, if the TVs are now capable of like 15-20 stops of dynamic range, you can pull back that image and then give it that dynamic range, right? So add that. That's why having a node tree that is future proof is very important. So long tangent. What do I want to do instead? Instead of switching my color space transform upstream to Rec 709, I want to change it in downstream. So here I'm going to say, hey, color output, keep it at Alexa, and then gamma, keep it at log C. So I'm saying, recognize that this is Alexa footage. I want my footage, I want my pipeline to understand which camera I'm using. Now, if I'm using red, I'll give it input color space to whatever red is, and then I'm going to say convert that to Alexa. So everything stays and behaves the same. All the tools and everything behaves in an RE log color space, okay? So here we're saying, instead of giving me 6 stops of like work that I can do here, Give me all 15 stops. Let me be the judge of like how I want to handle it. All right. So that's the first thing that you have to do here. Now I'm going to go back to my clips, and then I can select all my clips with RE Alexa. I can right click and I can say, put these in a group, add them into a current group. And as soon as I add them to a group, I get this little chain. And what that does is that I can click on this guy right here. I can go to my post group, which is basically downstream. It's like after everything that happened here. Now I go to my post clip, post group, and here I'm going to create two nodes. This one I'm going to call grain. Okay. And then this one I'm going to call CST. And then this is where we do the conversion. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say, take my CST, put it here. And I'm going to say the footage is from Alexa, log C. And now I'm going to say, I'm going to be exporting it in Rec 709, Gamma 2.4. So now we're back to Rec 709, but we are not damaging our footage. We're not working in a 6-stop dynamic range here. Just for the out the door, area, we're saying exported in Rec 709, and you're going to find out why it is like worth in its weight in gold. So you're going to find out in a second. Now what do we have to do is this. Before I apply the show LUT, I always recommend you balance your images. Okay, always. Because look at this. If I go under LUTs, if I go to film looks 2383, if I drop it on, look at just what happened. It's nuclear. It ruined everything. Because our image is not balanced, and we obviously see the image is crazy, man. So like if I click on the waveform, look at how much blue is down here, and overall how much yellow is in my image. So it's not balanced at all. Now I want to show you this. If you click on the settings here and we look at our color management for the timeline color space is set to Rec 709 Gamma 2.4, right? Which means all these nodes are behaving in a Gamma 2.4 Rec 709 space. So if I go to my printer lights, and you won't be able to see on the screen which keys I'm hitting, but I'm going to spell it out to let you know what I'm hitting. So when I look at this image, I say I need to pull out a ton of yellow that's in my image, and we can see it. There's so much yellow to balance out my image. So I go like this. All right, I'm going to start hitting yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now we're getting somewhat in the balanced area. Okay, so I had to hit it 9 times to get it there, right? Because we are, again, restricted to that 6 stops of dynamic range in this node, right? We're doing that. If I turn this off and I go here, let me show you a technique that literally is going to blow your mind. Because we took full control and we're working in a non-managed timeline, we can do anything on the node level, right? So primary A, usually I right click here and I say, change my color space here to DaVinci Wide Gamut. Change my gamma to DaVinci Intermediate. As soon as I do that, nothing changes, right? Everything is the same. If I turn it on and off, nothing changes. Just look what just happened. Like we unleashed the ultimate beast. Now, every tool behaves differently in DaVinci Wide Gamut. So now when I come in here and I go subtract yellow, the other time we had to hit it 9 or 10 times, look how many times we're going to have to hit it here. I'm going to go subtract yellow once, twice, 3 times, boom. We pulled our image out of that yellow zone, and now I can just go, hey, add cyan 1 time. 1 cyan, and just look at my image right here, how I was able to balance it. This is before, this is after. 3 strokes, guys. And this is the kind of thing that you have to do to shave time off and make changes in a way that you can't even do otherwise. This change is just not even possible on a regular node level. But when you turn it into a DaVinci Wide Gamut, we're taking advantage of that huge color space. And look what we were able to do in this node, okay? So that is literally a crazy, crazy tip that I can give you. So once we did that, Now we can go and just turn on our show LUT. Remember the 2383 we dropped, and now we're ready to go, right? Printed, and it looks beautiful. Like what is going on? Why is it looking like this? So usually people will get this and they freak out. They were like, they usually go, oh, that's no problem. Usually what I do is I drop on a LUT and it's like a lot of intensity, right? Like it's super, super strong. So what I do is I go under my node control and I just like bring it down to like leave it somewhere around here. So now it looks perfect and I'm going to leave it there. And I have a 2383 LUT and everything looks great. All right, that's cool. If you think that's cool, that's fine. Let me show you what you're actually doing. Let's go back to the LUT checker. And that, once again, that's why the LUT checker is so important. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to open, let's just do a 1-up and have this open here. And now what we want to do is, let's just say we're doing the same thing. If we were to reduce the intensity, it's not the same as, keeping the look DNA. And I'll show you why. You look at the scopes. Let's say we do the same thing the amateur way, and we just go under our gain and we reduce the intensity to 0.29 or something like that, and we go, see, I still have the LUT and I just brought down the intensity. It's not the same. Look what you just did. You basically went back to the log. Like, I mean, you stripped down the entire personality of your LUT, like what creates that 2383, what it is. And look how detrimental it is if we apply it to this clip. And then we go and look at our waveform. Look at, we went from, if I undo this, from this beautiful film-like S-curve to something like that, which is not the same at all, okay? And that's why I am against just dropping the intensity, because it's not the same thing. So instead, what you want to do is, why does it look like that? Why is this LUT so strong and it does this? It's because in DaVinci, these LUTs were created to work with film, actual film that comes in, after being developed. Usually you will have to do a film scan convert, right, to Rec 709. So you will perform a film scan to Rec 709 conversion, and then everything looks proper. Well, these LUTs, even with the digital footage, require the same process. But this time, we can drop a color space transform. We can leave everything as is. Under our gamma, we can hit C and go down and find the Cineon film log. That is basically AKA the film scan conversion. And as soon as we do that, boom, look at the scopes. Everything comes in looking perfectly fine. I'm going to put this on vector scope and just look at it. Everything looks great. So now if I take these two, this was our image before the film LUT. This is our image after the film LUT. Of course, it looks a billion times better. Right? It has so much of that, movie DNA, film DNA that we usually don't get. Now, if you guys say this is a bit too intense, which I agree, we can go and do the lift gamma gain dance and just ease off on that a little bit, right? So I can just start with my lift. Let's raise it up a little bit. I'm still in my DaVinci wide gamut primaries, okay? So I'm still in that because I love the way these tools behave in that color space. And now I'm going to take my gain and I'm going to bring it down. See? So now I'm going to take my gamma, lift it up. I'm going to take my gain, bring it down somewhere around here. And I'm looking at my scope, and everything is looking good. Now all I have to do is just give it some saturation. I'm going to go and bring my saturation up to like 65-ish. Okay, that's what I just did. Brought up my saturation. It's looking kind of nasty. It's looking too saturated. That's totally fine. Now, I have my HSL curves, and all my qualifiers usually come after the LUT because we need all this data and manipulation that's happening to our image to get the best HSL keys or qualifiers. Like, if you want to use them the way they're supposed to be used, then put your show LUT before them, okay? So now we can go in here, and I can say, go under saturation versus saturation, take the low saturated areas, bring them down, and then I'm going to grab it from somewhere around here, and I'm only focusing on her skin. And I'm saying her skin is looking good somewhere around here. And then I'm going to set that to 1. And basically what we were able to do, look at this right here on the scopes. We were able to clean up our scopes quite a bit, our whites. So if I punch in, right? If I punch in here and you look at her jacket, this is before, this is after. Massive, massive difference, okay? And then we're gonna make a few more changes. I'm gonna go under hue versus saturation. I'm gonna click on yellow, her skin, and I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. It's too aggressive. I'm gonna bring it down just a little bit, something like that. Now I'm gonna go under hue versus hue, because if I click right here, I can check on skin indicator and I see the skin is still falling towards the yellow, right? And we can attest to that. Again, if I hover over on her face and the way we have our scope set up, look at the skin is showing up here, whereas the skin indicator is right there. So what I can do is I can click on that yellow and I can start swinging that hue a little bit. And just by doing this, right? Like, look at what I did. I just brought my skin over nicely, right? And just by making those two changes in our HSL curves, like, look at, we were able to clean up our image so much and put the skin where it was supposed to be. And we're pretty much done with the shot. Like, those are all the changes that we have to make to get this beautiful looking image. And now if somebody goes, hey man, the reds are, your blacks are not balanced, right? Like they're a little off. That's okay. Because if I take you under gallery and go to Joker, so let's go to Joker. Let's pull up the first shot and we bring it on. Look at what's happening. The red is actually clipping on the bottom end. Look at where the red is and then where the green and blues are. That is the characteristic of the 2383. So you got to keep it true to that, right? Now it's totally up to you if you want to bring the intensity down more, whatever you want to do. I think it looks clean. It looks good. Where we started to where we ended up, right? So, I mean, we wanted to work in RE log space, and then we did our primaries using the DaVinci Wide Gamut, made quite a bit of difference. We dropped the show LUT. We did a proper conversion of the show LUT, and then we went and cleaned up our HSL. Now we can just go to this clip, middle click, bring all our changes to that clip, right? And obviously the color temperature is off because this didn't need that much work on a color temperature level. So I'm going to reset that. Still going to bring the saturation up. So I'm going to take the saturation and I'm going to bring it up to 65-ish, and it feels and looks nuclear, which is totally fine for now. So all I got to do is the same lift, gamma, gain dance. I'm going to take my lift, I'm going to raise it up. I'm going to take my gain, I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to take my gamma up, gain down. And now it's looking really nice. It has like that Sicario sort of like feel going, it's looking really nice. I can come into my HSL curves, and now the opposite is happening. My skin is a little bit too on the magenta red side. You see it right here. And if I hover over, you got to make sure that you're under qualifier, or else you're not going to get that on your scopes. So under qualifier, if I hover over, look what's happening to the skin. It's a little bit to the red side. So now we have to make that adjustment, right? So I can do a couple of things. I can go back into the yellow point and hue versus hue. And now this time I'm going to swing it to the other side. And now my skin is yellow, looking really nice. But you know what? I want to take my red points and bring it down a little bit, because I feel like the skin is like a little too distracting, right? So if I put it somewhere around here, it looks way more filmic. It looks really nice. Now I want to take my cyan. I want to crank it up. I want to add a lot of saturation, which is adding saturation in the back right here to create that separation in my image. I'm going to do the same thing with my blue channels. I'm going to take the blue, I'm going to crank it quite a bit. And once again, it's adding that color contrast between the whites. So we cleaned up our whites, right? By bringing the yellows down. So like, look how much it cleans up the yellows, and then it pops up the blues, separates the skin, puts it where it's supposed to be. And we are pretty much done with this shot, right? Now, let's do this. So say we absolutely killed it. You know, they put out a short film on Vimeo. It was Vimeo's best, and now they want to put it in for Netflix. Like they want to submit it to Netflix. They want to just go big. So how can we do an HDR trim? Like usually if you would have set your CST to Rec 709, you had to regrade the whole thing, because if it's set to Rec 709 and I go here and I change it to P3 D65 for Netflix, configurations, it's going to throw all my keys, all my qualifiers, every single thing. Okay. But remember the way we set up our project and how all these are sitting in a group. So we can click here, go under post group easily. And in here, now I go and do this, right? So I go here, I go, hey, what does Netflix want? So I go here and I get, I'm reading P3, D65, PQ, SD 2084. That's, at 1000. That's the specs. That's how they want their projects delivered in a P3 color space. So I go, okay, no problem. One, obviously always save this timeline, create a new one called HDR, but let's just say that we did that. Let's just say we did that. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to say, hey, give me P3 color space, P3 D65, and here, give me SD 1000, SD 2084 1000. Boom, done. Set up. And you probably go, well, dude, this looks like crap. You need to have an HDR monitor to see if it looks proper. But we can check it here to see if it looks proper by clicking on these guys and then turning on our HDR scopes. As soon as I turn on my HDR scopes, just look at what is happening. Magic is happening. So this is 1000 nits. We are way under 1000 nits. Remember that we set our reference levels to 200, and then here we set this to 600. So if I go back here and turn the show reference levels on, look at my skin tones are sitting, where are my skin tones? They're sitting right under 200 nit mark. And then my highlights are sitting right under the 600 nit mark. So just by flipping the switch, we are ready to send this out to Netflix. All we have to do here is make little adjustments. And that's why we have the Netflix trim here. And then we can make changes here. Like if we need to bring something up, bring something down, whatever it is that we need to do. But basically with one flip of a switch, we were ready to go for Netflix. Okay. Now I'm going to go back here. And obviously, I'm going to just set that to Rec 709 again. So I'm going to put Rec 709 because our first version is going to go out in Rec 709. Go back to clips. Now, the most beautiful thing about the way we set up this node tree is this. Okay, I can go here and I can middle click and bring all of these nodes in here. And what I need to do is I'm about to show you this right here. Okay. How to save this as a Powergrade so you don't have to create it ever again. Because you just watch the training, you're all hot on it, you know how to do it, and then you try to do it tomorrow and you're like, there's one step that I'm missing, I don't remember what Qazi did. So if you want to just save this, set it and forget it, this is how we can do it. We go here and we reset all the parameter changes that we made by clicking on this guy. So now if I right click on it, we still kept our DaVinci Wide Gamut and Gamma to DaVinci Intermediate. Okay, so that's the beauty of it. We can go here and just reset it completely. All right, we can go to our CST, leave it in Cineon because that's the whole point of it. And then this one is set to 2383, leave it as is. And then once again here, we can just reset this entire grade by right clicking reset. And then like this is ready to go. Okay, so here's the beautiful thing that I learned from Joey from Mixing Light, and it was genius. So I go right here and I say RE log C Kodak 2383. Now, if I come in here, I have a generic template ready to go. All I need to do is right click and say grab still, and that's it, done. And you can throw it in your Powergrade so you have them. I have my Powergrade set to Alexa log C, Red IPP2, Canon 3, log 3, whatever. So once you have this saved on your Powergrade, it is available throughout your database. So whatever project you're working on, you can just come to this shot right here, right? And I can just say reset my grade and say this is a new project that I'm working on. I can just click on this and boom, it just sets me up for all the right things. And even if I right click and look at it, it still remembers my color space, regardless of the project that I'm in. It applied the right LUT. We can select it and see it that, it's revealing the 2383, the D60 flavor. It has my Cineon conversion applied properly. So guys, this right there basically does it for the training section of it. And so here's the thing, right? First of all, I've been running this joke for the longest time, so I'm going to keep it going. It's just funny to me unless you guys hate it. So told you Resolve is super easy, right? Get excited because to some, this definitely probably felt like drinking water through a fire hose, right? Like just information overload. And that's just because it's unfortunate that we're doing this, live webinar. It can't be like 4 hours long. So I have to be respectful of everybody's time. And that's all we got. Now, fortunately, literally, if you like this, then 100x that, because that's what's in my on-demand course that I created that you can get lifetime access to. It's called the Freelance Colorist of Masterclass. It's genuinely the ultimate roadmap and a one-way ticket to six-figure career. And I'm saying that because I'm living that, right? So I'm not making something up that I haven't done. Why I created FCM, I want to take a second to talk about that. So went to school in Chicago, moved to LA after $100,000 debt in college, after all the interest and, things that they put on your loans, and 4 years wasted in school where I learned how to, party basically. I come to LA and my skills translate to absolutely nothing. I was digitizing tapes, making $250 a week. She can attest to that. $250 a week. You cannot survive in California, in Southern California, making $250 a week. Worst case, and worst part about it is that it wasn't even recurring. Sometimes I had work, sometimes I didn't have work. So somebody who gets a degree, spends $100,000, 4 years of their life, and learning outdated information, they end up with this. Then, as my side hustle, I started doing weddings, and not to look down at doing weddings, but it doesn't require 4 years of education, professional education, or $100,000 college debt. And worst thing on top of that is that I was beaten down by people that were IT professionals and were doing weddings as their side hustle just because they like, cameras and things like that. And they were making way more money than me because I'm here with my Canon T2i running around, and nobody cares that I have a college degree and I can shoot really nice and blah, blah, blah. People are just like, look at his gear compared to yours. So I was even losing on that front. So then I got lucky. I landed a full-time job. I thought that I got lucky. I went in for the interview. They pretty much figured out that I was, fresh out of college. So the initial position was for $60,000. But I got the job for 48. They basically negotiated me down to 48 grand. Now, after you do your taxes, you are left with a little under $30,000. And once again, I cannot stress enough that you cannot live off of $29,000, $30,000 if you're living in Southern California. Okay, it doesn't matter how frugal you are. So I got to a point where I got super sick and tired of it, talked to my wife and just told her that, hey, I can't do this anymore. She's like, quit. Like, you shouldn't be doing anything that you don't want to do. And that was like, I do want to thank her for that, because that was massive. That's something that, a luxury that a lot of people don't have, because we had payments, all that stuff. So I write an email where I basically tell my boss all the things that were bothering me, and also told him a little bit about himself. So you guys expected right. I got fired. So years later, I'm basically starting out from the bottom. Okay. Freelancing at the time was up, tons of ups and downs. I'm doing Craigslist jobs. I'm getting paid $100 for this gig here, $50 for that gig there. Some people are not paying me for weeks at a time. I don't have the money to hire a lawyer and get my money, all that stuff. Some of you are probably familiar with what I'm saying. So I got to a point that I wanted to go back to IT school, because before I went to film school, I was getting my bachelor's in network communications. So I got on the call with my brother and I said, bro, you know what? This is not working out. I want to go back to school, finish my degree in network engineering, and just get a regular job. He talked me out of it. So again, he's another guy that I am very thankful to. So once I basically got off the phone with my brother, I'm just like, all right, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to concentrate. I'm going to learn. I'm going to practice. I'm going to execute. I really gave it my one last try and went hard. Look at my shirt. Analyze, practice, and execute. So, I mean, I basically did that. And then it got to a point where I pretty much was in the right swing. Like, I was working on projects to a point where I'm turning down six-figure full-time gigs. And it's just because I feel like I had, found my calling, not to mention that everybody that freelances, you guys know that there is this, we're junkies, right? Like we're adrenaline junkies. Like there's this rush that you get from when you get an email and you land that gig, and there's something really cool about it. So I'm like, no, I'm not taking a 6-figure job. I'm going to just run with it. And then eventually started my company, was lucky enough to work with big brands. Like I said, I should update this list because now there's so many more: Hyundai, Alfa Romeo, Dodge, Chevrolet, Lexus, like just work with so many big brands. And the reason why I bring that up, right? The reason why I shared my long backstory, to let you know that I've been there. Like it wasn't just given to me. Okay. I didn't have a super rich dad that was just like, I'll give you $80,000, get yourself an Alexa Mini and go make movies. That's not what happened. I had to start from the bottom. And based on that, I guarantee you that what you will learn in this training, in this masterclass, will dramatically improve your career. Because anybody that knows me, you guys know I don't like the fluff. I'm a practitioner. I just want to give you that's going to work for you right away. Okay. So here's the layout for the masterclass. And anybody that's into color grading or knows a little bit about film production, just by looking at that, you can already see how practical this entire layout is and this class is. So we're starting with conform, which is basically a process where you bring footage in and out of Resolve. So majority of your projects, you're going to be working in Premiere Pro or Final Cut 10 or your clients. So you have to learn what's the right way to bring the footage in and out of Resolve. Second module is going to teach you how to take advantage of your cameras. Every camera with different color science, how to make the most beautiful images from those cameras. Color correction is going to be 90% of your paycheck. That's just the way it is. So that's very important. A lot of people miss that part. Shot matching, I mean, that is hilarious to me because when I did a survey, there's a poll, if you go all the way at the bottom, majority of the people were like their biggest pain point when it comes to color grading is shot matching. So this module is going to solve that problem. Then color grading is like where you become a tastemaker. You start telling stories through the art of color. That's where you become irreplaceable. Studio module is a big one. I mean, if you guys know me a little bit and if you've been on my Instagram and my YouTube videos, like you know that I'm insane. I'm crazy, obsessed with like just, all the cool toys. But this module, I'm breaking it down for people that don't have a lot of money. What's the best, bang for your buck? People that have a little bit of money, and then people where money is no object. And then this is the bread and butter for this masterclass, which is the freelance module. Like, I want to get you results more than like the hard skills, like how to do this and that. I want to show you the road, how to actually land your next gig and start making money. I'm not holding anything back here. Like I'm going to be showing you my invoices, a lot of things, everything is covered here. Then we have a bonus module. Anytime I come across like one-off things that are just really cool and beneficial to me, I throw them in here. One of my favorite sections because it has like a lot of cool things. I mean, you can see it here, right? So there's a gamma shift problem that everybody faces. The answers are here, best export settings, things like that. YouTube module, all my heavy hitters on YouTube. If I can have access to the log footage, I usually bring in those projects, give you guys the practice footage to mess around with and just have fun. And then professional work, this is one of the things that really sets this masterclass apart because I don't know any other masterclass out there that does that, not only just in the realm of color grading, but just in general. Here, I'm basically taking actual broadcast commercials and music videos that are out there, and these people are cool enough to give me access to use their footage for training purposes. So you get access to the training files, you get access to the project file, you really get to see what was going through my head when I was working on these projects. And then these literally could be their own modules. I'm not even joking. So we have DaVinci Resolve 17, what's new, 10 tips, but I'm just calling them sections. And this training that you just watched, people that own my masterclass are going to get access to this training, and it's going to be called Secrets to Getting the Film Look, and then it's going to be, broken down in sections just like here. So you guys are going to get access to this. I should update this. It's way over 25 hours of content now, but I still have this whole slide, so I suck. And then it's not 150 plus videos anymore. It's 211 plus training videos now on demand that you have lifetime access to. So if we just look at what's inside FCM, I just showed you 10 modules. Think of each module as a boot camp, 2-day boot camp, because you go to on-site boot camps. They're usually like color grading commercials, and then that's the boot camp. Conforming in DaVinci Resolve, that's the boot camp. So you pay for that. So keeping that in mind, there's 10 boot camps worth of modules in FCM. Then you got access to the private Facebook group where we do weekly competition, tailor-made feedback. So you get tailor-made feedback during those competitions, and you can even win cash prizes up to $1,000. Runner-ups get $300. Networking opportunities are just next level because the course is so expensive that the only people that join FCM are the cream of the crop. They're serious filmmakers. So you're literally one opportunity, one connection away from changing the trajectory of your life. I promise you. Discounts so far, we have Film Convert and DaVinci Resolve studio version on board. I'm trying to partner up with tons of other companies, again, in the realm of color grading. So that is happening soon. It's very exciting. Meet Brian. He is the champion from the season 2 of FCM. And what was funny is that at the time we weren't doing cash prizes. So I was going to give people the panel because I'm like, I don't want to give you $1,000 that you can, just waste on a vacation or something. I want this money to go toward your career. So Brian took a picture and sent it to me, and he's like, bro, I already own the panel. And then I'm like, you know what, dude, F it. Like, I'll just give you the money. So that's where the $1,000 cash prize came from. But just look at his results. Okay, so this is his look recreation for Ford versus Ferrari down here. This is his look recreation for Joker. And this is shot on Panasonic GH5. And look at the kind of image that he was able to create to get the Joker look. This is from Red's website. It's just their stock footage, but he went for the Mad Max look, and look what he did. So talent is out of control in FCM. So at this point, you guys are probably wondering, how much does it cost? How do I sign up? And before we get there, just give me a minute, okay? Why join FCM? Let's talk about that. So what's different? Why you should join it? So today's standards, good is just not good enough. We all know that. Like, the market is very saturated. Learning by trial and error will cost you time and valuable clients. Like, I know too many 22-year-olds that are killing the game. And when I look at them, I'm like, oh man, I was so stupid. I wish I did what they're doing, because they're going for these accelerated courses and like really shaving off years, from trial and error and actually just making things happen. College education is outdated, impractical, and it comes with unforgivable debt and 4 whole years of your life. I mean, you heard my story. And then full-time job with an entry-level salary will leave you disappointed in the end. You also heard that, right? $29,000 a year. Like, come on. Even a 6-figure job will mean saying goodbye to your freedom. I have tons of friends that do have full-time jobs and they're making, low 6 figures. And the thing is, they're miserable because they have company phone. They have to be on call 24/7. Or you can take a shortcut by following someone who's a practitioner and instantly change the trajectory of your life. Like, I mean, that like I said, I literally only put out stuff that I know works for me and can work for you. Get your freedom back, work on projects that you want to, then you need to. Okay, there's a big difference on that. Like right now, my direction, I'm doing a lot of music videos compared to like branded content, because branded content is cool, music videos are cooler. So I have that flexibility. I can do that. Make more money and enjoy your life. When you get to work on things that you like, of course, you're going to enjoy your life. So now I want to show you why everyone who joins FCM absolutely loves it. Jake, who we're going to be bringing live and is probably here. He took FCM. He's only 22, and recently he worked with brands like Porsche and DJI. He is working nonstop. Cameron has worked for Machine Gun Kelly, Reebok, and tons of other A-list artists. I mean, absolutely killing the game. Prateek is 17. He's from India. This dude looks 13, but I think he's 17. He has worked with Nikon, Pampers, and some of the biggest Indian brands. Like, he's working nonstop. He just posted something that he worked on today that I looked at, and right before I went live, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to talk to him and congratulate him. It looks so good. He's working remotely. All the things that he picked up from this masterclass. Marietta is working with Adobe. Nick Watson worked for Gucci. Brian is the go-to guy for F1 for this season. So he's doing all their excerpts, all their trailer teasers for F1 racing. Absolutely mind-blowing. And the list just goes on with all these people. Like, Chloe worked with McDonald's. Like Santos's music video is sitting at 63.9 million, views, like the video that he put out. So this is just a few examples of like hundreds of students that are getting ridiculous results. So I want to quickly look at the traditional roadmap, right? You go to school, you pay $60,000 and somehow it's justifiable, right? Like, we give our 4 years of life and pay ridiculous amount to go to school, and we think it's okay. Yet we don't want to pay $200 for a masterclass or for something like that because we're like, oh my God, that's too much. But with school, we don't even think about it. It's a no-brainer. But in reality, you're wasting time. You're learning outdated information. and who can't teach. And that's not, again, to take a shot at teachers, but the thing is, not a lot of them are practitioners. Now, if you do want to learn from practitioners, you're going to do on-site boot camps. Those are great. I love them. I've taken them and they're great. But the caveat there is that limited access. These hotshot guys are not going to go to some remote town. They're going to go to freaking Paris, Germany, like Berlin, like, New York, LA, Chicago, those big places, right? So you're limited by where these things are available. And then they're too expensive. They're starting at $1,200, can go up to like $2,500, $5,000. And the whole thing is a group setting. It's set up in a group setting. So if you're already too good, then you have to dumb yourself down and wait for like that generic pace that they have set. If you are brand new and then the pace is too fast for you, then you're out of luck. So let's look at FCM cost breakdown. So school, you're paying $60,000. Boot camp, you're paying $1,200. So keeping that in mind, then if boot camp is $1,200, FCM has 10 modules, so that will equal out to $10,000, okay? And you have lifetime access to this, so you can go back and they're getting updated constantly, all that, which doesn't happen with boot camps. Private Facebook group, you get entry to the private Facebook group, which is $1,500 worth. And these weekly competitions and tailor-made feedback is everything, okay? If you look at Brian's progression or Prateek's progression, it's like night and day, like what this did for them. And that happened here. So, I mean, they went from like 0 clients for color grading to like unlimited clients. Now they have to say no. And it was through this Facebook group. On top of it, not only like you're learning all that, you can actually make money. Nick has won 2 challenges so far and actually made $2,000 from FCM because he's just kicking ass, right? So our grand total right now, $10,000 for the modules and $1,500 for private Facebook group, comes down to $15,000 or $11,500, which is way less than the school system. And again, it's driven by results. People are getting results. So let's take a minute, like imagine this with me. Okay. So say you join FCM today. 1 year from now, you're working with 3 solid clients, each bringing in $2,500 a month. You'll be able to pay off this course in less than 2 months. After that, every single cent is pure profit. Now, when I told you about Jake, Cameron, Prateek, Gabi, Daniela, all these people that I told you about, these people went from 0 color grading gigs to doing way more than this. Okay, they're working way more. Brian from Brazil, who's working on F1, like they're doing way more projects than this, consistent work from this course. So if you keep all of this in mind and the cost that you're paying for it, don't you think it's a bargain? Like, just think about it for a second. That is just simply not going to happen because I love you guys. So I'm not going to sell this to you for $11,500. I know that. So how about I do this instead? I give you 10 modules, private group with personalized feedback, cash prizes that you can win, discounts that you get, all of it for a grand total of $1,150. During the Q&A section, I just decided to do a webinar special. You can become part of the FCM family for $597. Okay, you can get my course, access to my course, full course, for $597. And a special offer will not be available after this Q&A section. So the Q&A section could be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. As soon as it ends, the offer goes with it. So last recap, you're getting all the modules. You're getting the private Facebook group. You're getting the cash prizes if you're kicking ass. All that for $597. And you should see the link on your screen. You can go sign up right now. It's a green button that's going to show up at the bottom of your screen. If you have a full screen, it should still show up. The button is right here. It says Join Freelance Colorist Masterclass. Click on it right now. Sign up. This offer only lasts until the Q&A. And look at this. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So this just makes it a no-brainer. You get that course. Somehow, if you're one of the freaking millions that it doesn't work out for you, you get your money back. No questions asked. So link is right there. Go ahead, click on it, and let me know if you guys see the link. You can join FCM for $597. We have somebody live. All right, so Jason, hey, brother.
Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate it a lot. I started right at the beginning of your stream, so I've been
Awesome.
following you for a little while on YouTube there, and learned about your contest, and this is awesome.
That's awesome, dude. I'm so happy for you. And are you working in post production? Do you do color grading and stuff?
Well, before this COVID thing happened, I'm a laser technician. I did travel all over the world doing laser light shows. But in the meantime, as a secondary industry, I've started doing real estate tours, things like that, and I've always been very interested in color, mostly photography, but now just taking in video and understanding log and how to color it and make it look nice. That's why I started watching your videos and other videos, and picked up DaVinci, and just kind of my head started spinning, like, how do I work with all this different footage? How do I conform it? How do I make it look the way I want to? And here I am. So yeah.
That's awesome, bro. Like it's so unreal because what you just said, so many people have had that crazy 180, shift during COVID. And I have so many people in FCM that are like that. Like, they're working as construction workers, and then they pick up a camera just as a hobby, and then they go here and they start doing this. And now they're actually making money. And I think that's one thing that I keep saying, right? I mean, it may come off as like a spam to some, where they're just like, oh man, just teach us the skill.